I am Gustavo Tolosa, your weekly host for the online book club. And welcome, everyone. I am seeing all of you here coming in, and it is wonderful. Today, we have today and two more times, and we finish the book, and then we will be starting a new one. And today, I have a couple of surprises for you at the end, and I hope that you will like it. Today, we are covering chapter 7, which is short, but it's hard to say. Every time I read a chapter, I think, okay, this is my favorite chapter. Remember that you need to tell Glenn by email what is your favorite chapter so that he will put you in that in a drawing for a prize. So I have to say that I'm having a hard time because every chapter that I read, I think it's my favorite. So this one really is up there. So in the previous chapter, Glenn Mercer was, presenting us with so much evidence and science and studies that just rests the case. There is no case really that the meat eaters and the industries of meat and dairy and all that. They have, they don't have a case, and that is clearly stated in chapter 6. And now in chapter 7, if that wasn't enough, now we get some anatomy lessons here. And again, I haven't seen another book that presents this in such a clear way. And so what I want to do, I know that you have read the chapter, but I just want to go over parts of pages 88, 89, and 90. And then I would like to bring Glenn Mercer, who has been a guest several times. And I'd like for him to talk to us a little bit about the following pages here, because there are some interesting. I'd like for him to tell us in his own words what he's writing in those pages. They're it's funny, and at the same time, it's truth. It's true, and it would be good to hear him talk about those pages. So what would I like to highlight here? And I'm doing this because this video sometimes is watched in my YouTube channel by people who may not be members of the book club. So I want to go over some of the points here. And the chapter starts saying, if beyond all the scientific studies that point to the health advantages of a plant-based diet, more proofs were needed of the appropriateness and superiority of plant nutrition for human beings, the science of comparative anatomy clinches the case. So let's talk about this. Scientists, therefore, examine such characteristics as the configuration and the motion of the jaw, the structure of the definition, the presence or absence of enzymes in the saliva, and this is a very important point here, the acidity and capacity of the stomach, the length and features of the intestines, the presence or absence of claws, and many other characteristics. And in every case, every single case, humans align with the herbivores, never the omnivores or carnivores. It's not even a contest. Carnivores and omnivores have facial muscles that allow for a wide oral gape to seize, dismember, and swallow prey. Humans and other herbivores don't. We definitely don't. Carnivores and omnivores have greatly elongated canine teeth for stabbing and shredding prey. Humans and other herbivores do not. Carnivores, most of whom hunt at night, have night vision many times keener than humans. Carnivores and omnivores have claws well adapted to seizing prey. Humans have fingers well adapted to the piano, which, when played at night by these same humans, generally requires lighting. So thank you, Glenn, for including the piano here. As many of you know, that's my profession. I am a concert pianist and piano professor. And so I agree for 100%. These fingers have been made to play the piano, okay? Everybody should play the piano, or at least one instrument. It's just such a rewarding activity, even if you're not a professional musician. When you can make music with your own hands. And I can see Glenn says, I was thinking of you as I wrote it. Okay, this was a premonition, Glenn. We had to connect, and we have connected. And guys, we have some things planned for the near future, some fun videos. Okay, so one of my surprises, I'm going to give it away now, is that at the end of this session, I will play a short piece of music at the piano for you. Okay, so stay until the end. That way, I can prove that these fingers are better built for piano than for, trapping prey and eating it raw and dismembering it, like he says. As creatures of the hunt, carnivores run many times faster than we do. I agree to that too. I love to walk, and I walk fast, but I don't like running. I guess if I had to catch something because I'm starving, I might try that. Okay, carnivores and omnivores do not chew their food. Humans and other herbivores do. Our jaw joints allow for the side-to-side motion needed to chew plant food. The bite force of carnivores and omnivores is many times that of humans and other herbivores. Carnivores and omnivores do not have carbohydrate digesting enzymes in their saliva. And here is why we say that we are starch eaters. We are starchivores. We are carbohydrativores. Okay, I don't like the word carbohydrate that much because it has been demonized. I prefer carbohydrates. It's been made confusing. Carbohydrate. Some people think of a sweet potato. Other people think of a slice of chocolate cake. So let's just say starch, like Dr. McDougall says. That defines more of what types of food we are supposed to be eating. So this is, to me, is one of the most important, things that separates us from carnivores, that we have carbohydrate digesting enzymes in our saliva. The amylase in human saliva is designed to digest starches and break them down into sugars. When we talk about sugars, we're not talking about table sugar. We're talking about the sugars that are beneficial for our body to function. Remember that the brain functions mostly with sugars, and help make potatoes taste delicious by giving them added sweetness. Carnivores, as a rule, make their kills infrequently, often only once a week. I think that sometimes in the wilderness it's even less than that, but at least once a week. Then they gore themselves, swallowing huge chunks of meat that can pass through their wide esophagus and land in their huge stomachs, where the meat is dissolved by very acidic stomach acid, usually while the animals rest after their hunt. So the acidity level of the carnivores is way, way more than that of humans. And then he explains here how much it is. Carnivores and omnivores have a pH of 1 or even less, okay? And we have between 4 and 5. Let's see what it says here. Carnivores can go for long periods without eating. And then the author says, I get a headache if I skip lunch. Yes. Carnivores and omnivores have short intestines. And this is another very important biological difference. To facilitate the exit of putrefying dead animal remains from the body as quickly as possible. Humans and other herbivores have long and small intestines required for the processing of cellulose, about 10 times our body length, defined for the purpose of comparison as head to tail bone. So these long intestines perform the task of absorbing nutrients. Only fibrous foods, plant foods, have the bulk required to travel that distance efficiently. Carnivores and omnivores do not develop heart disease from a diet rich in saturated fat and cholesterol. Humans do. So that is page 90. I've gone through page 90. And this morning, I'm going to bring Glenn here, hopefully. And I will tell you, hold on just a minute. I'm inviting you, Glenn, if you would please log in. This morning, I wanted to try to make a recipe from the book. And so I had cauliflower. I had a lot of cauliflower, and I chose to make the recipe on page 198. 198. So this is the recipe. And I see that Glenn has logged in. And so this is the cauliflower rice pudding. Let's see, Glenn, can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I cannot hear you for some reason here. Let's see. Okay, can you talk
Can
one
you
more
hear me
time?
now?
I can, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. You are always there, ready to log in, and I appreciate it. And
Well, I'm so glad that you have fingers and not claws. Much better for the world of music.
Well, a few times in my life, I have wished I had claws because I wanted to kill somebody, but not many times. So I prefer fingers for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Is it super cold where you are?
Yes. I'm in the United States.
Yes.
Cold everywhere.
Yes, it's cold. Wow, it's a really strong front.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the recipe that I'm going to show later on is going to help warm up. I don't know. We'll see. I'll show you later. But Glenn, I thought it would be, as I was reading this chapter, I thought this would be a great section here when pages 91 and 92, where you talk about chimpanzees and you know, and then there's a kind of a funny parts where you say that you hate to admit, but you know, a few times a year a chimpanzee or a chimp will eat.
Well, should I explain about the chimpanzees?
Can you please do that? And yeah, go ahead. I think it's
here's the thing. We are most closely. Oh, did I freeze now? Am I back? Okay. Maybe it's best if we're both on the screen, Gustavo.
Yeah. Maybe. Okay.
Oh, I froze again? Now I'm back. Okay. Obviously, we're most closely related to the chimpanzee. So since we're the only animal foolish enough not to know what we should be eating, every other animal knows instinctively what to eat, but humans walk down in the grocery store and they're confused. So we have to figure it out. And wouldn't the first thing you should do as you figure it out be to ask yourself, well, what do the animals we're most closely related to eat? And the answer is that would be the smart first thing to look at. And the animal we're most closely related to is the chimpanzee. Now, chimpanzees are not 100% vegan, but they are about 97% vegan, something like that. And they eat some termites. Now, that was discovered by Dr. Jane Goodall. And she discovered that they use these long sticks like straws to eat the termites, and that was when it was discovered that humans were not the only tool makers. Chimpanzees also use these tools to eat termites. But my argument is, I don't think they really like to eat termites. I think they were just trying to impress Dr. Goodall. So, you know, that's an open debate. But anyway, they eat, 1% of their diet is termites and other insects. And about a half dozen times a year, they do something deplorable. The chimpanzees go up in the trees and they surround a monkey. And they trap the monkey and they smash it. They break its neck against the branches of the tree. They rip apart its living flesh. And the male chimps do this. It's always the males. The male chimps commit this act of violence, and then they rip apart the living flesh of the monkey, and they give it to the female chimps in exchange for sex. And my point in the book is that that is deplorable behavior. I'm not going to justify it. But they're not doing it for nutritional reasons. They're doing it to get laid. And when I was single, I did much worse. So, that's the only meat that chimps eat. And they do that a half dozen times a year. Whereas humans will eat meat 3 times a day. So I prefer to have a diet of that's totally vegan, 100% plants, 0% monkeys. But if humans had a diet like the chimps and it was 97% plant-based, we'd be doing a lot better. So whether you go 97% vegan or 100% vegan, you got to be on that end of the spectrum if you're going to be looking at the evolutionary evidence. We're not closely related to the tiger. Well, humans probably have always made the mistake of eating meat from tigers.
Right.
But keep in mind that our ancestors didn't usually live past 35. So their primary focus was to get enough calories.
Right.
And if they got too much saturated fat and cholesterol, they weren't likely to live long enough to have a heart attack anyway. They would die of infection or getting eaten by a wild animal.
Right.
So, if our goal today is longevity and health, we can do better. And it's just beyond foolish to have a diet that is mostly animal foods, as Americans do.
Right.
It contradicts all the evidence of comparative anatomy. It contradicts all the scientific studies on health, and it contradicts our evolution.
Right.
We certainly weren't designed to eat bovine secretions.
Mm-hmm.
So, the whole thing is just foolish.
Yeah, but you mentioned also in this chapter that we have to deal with the fact of advertising that animals don't. I mean, a dog doesn't have to go, okay, I wonder what,
Right. And we have to deal with culture.
And culture.
We all love our, most of us love our parents and the way we were brought up and the traditions we were brought up with. And, and Thanksgiving turkey and all, all the traditions that we're brought up with and that were taught to us by our loving parents. And so the diet that we are proposing here is a break from our culture. And my argument is that culture isn't always a good thing. I know that there are some, and I think of the late Anthony Bourdain, who I write about in this book, who, lionized culture. There are wonderful things about different cultures. I think of music, for example. Different cultures have different types of music, and that's a wonderful thing. But not everything that every culture has is wonderful. I can think of some cultures that don't treat women well, for example. I could think of some cultures that have a caste system. Not a good thing. And virtually all cultures don't treat animals well. I was looking at a video. There's a wonderful man named Sailesh Rao, who is a climate expert and a systems engineer. And he showed a map of the globe, and we've all seen this, and I've seen it 100 times, and I never thought about it twice. And Sailesh got me to realize, when you look at the map of the world, you see a lot of green, and then you see a stretch of brown. And where is that stretch of brown? It's from the Sahara across Africa into the Sinai Desert, into the Near East, Persia, and into the Gobi Desert in China. Why is there this one long stretch of brown in the middle of the globe? How did that happen? Is it just the way the earth was created, with a lot of forests and a stretch of desert? No. That's where the cradle of civilization was. All the societies that we read about in the Bible and the different holy books of the past, that's the cradle of civilization in that area of the globe. And what did they do wrong? They began the practice of animal husbandry. And eventually they grazed themselves into a desert. And we still live with that desert today. It wasn't designed that way. It was once forested. So this mistake that humanity has made, it has made from the beginning. And it has made because people started using animals for food. And that primal mistake, that original sin, is still with us today, and now it's threatening us with climate change.
Very, very interesting what you just pointed out. I had never thought about that either. But yeah, something to really think about. Glenn, can you tell us a little bit about, you also talk about the 3 potato chips and, how that can be harmless, but those 3 can become 6 and then they can become 20 and then the whole bag. And then you talk about that there's no study that has ever compared the health outcomes of one cohort of folks on a low-fat, whole foods, vegan diet with another that is on a low-fat, whole food, plant-based diet supplemented by one serving of salmon per week.
Right.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, yes, it's because, I've always advocated a vegan diet. I say always, since I've become a vegan, which is 30 years ago or so. I often encounter people who are just not open to the possibility of being vegan because it seems weird to them. It seems like the other. They don't want to, the vegans, those are crazy hippies or something. They couldn't imagine that, but they're open to cutting down on meat. They're open to not having dairy. They just don't want to go to the extreme of being healthy all the time. So they sometimes say to me, would it be all right if I have fish once a week? Just so that they don't feel like they're vegans. They don't want to be one of us. And would I still be healthy? And the answer is, if for every meal you're having a lot of fruits and vegetables and whole grains and mushrooms, maybe a little bit of nuts and seeds, you're eating a healthy plant-based diet, and once a week you have a serving of salmon, you're doing better than 99% of Americans. I'm not going to, on a health basis, make a big issue about that. I think you'd be better off without any salmon, but the point is, if that's the best someone feels they could do, that's great. If they're currently eating meat 2 or 3 times a day and then they go to fish 1 meal a week, that's a big improvement. So I say, do it. Go do. If that's the best you can do it. And a lot of people start that way, and then a few months later, they're not having any fish at all, and they realize they don't miss it. So some people make that kind of transition. The point is about the science that it's not that sensitive. They do studies of 10,000 people who are vegans versus 10,000 people who are eating meat, but they eat all kinds of different diets. There could be meat eaters who eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, and there could be vegans who eat a lot of donuts and beer. So unless you do a study like Dr. Esselstyn does, where he really trains people how to eat healthy, those are the best studies, and those are the ones I most respect. But unless you're like Dr. Esselstyn and you put people on a truly healthy plant-based diet, all those studies about vegetarians versus vegans versus meat eaters are very vague. The vegans always do better than the vegetarians, who always do better than the meat eaters, but it's still very vague. So nobody's going to pay for a study that has people eating the way you and I do versus people who eat the way you and I do plus 1 serving of fish a week. Nobody's, and the difference in health outcome will be so minimal that it would be preposterous to try to do that study. So, and I say, but it would be the same thing if somebody ate 3 potato chips a week. 3 potato chips a week probably won't kill you. But it's obviously not good for you, because potato chips aren't good for you. So that's how I feel about fish once a week. It's not going to kill you. It's probably not good for you. It's just a little bit of mercury, Yeah. So if that's the best you can do, then do it. And then you may find that you can do better later on.
Yeah, I agree with you, Glenn, because sometimes some doctors or some dietitians out there that are very respectable, but they make the case if it's an all or nothing, and you can really turn people away. And that's what I admire about Dr. McDougall and other doctors like him that say, okay, you're transitioning from this horrendous diet to this plant-based diet. So you can have, you can sprinkle a little bit of sugar if you have to at the beginning. I used to do it, but then eventually my taste buds adapted and I didn't need it anymore and I stopped it. And just like you're saying with salmon, well, I did stop meat all of a sudden, but things like that. And so you can help a lot of people if you take them from where they're at and they do a significant change, and maybe they go off a little bit off the plan. But I believe that most people will see the impact on their health and will want to do more and not less. So I don't know if you want to say anything else about this chapter or anything. I have a little gift which is I filmed how I made one of the recipes in this book, and I wanted to show everyone. And then I want to try it since I made it, but I didn't try it, and I thought it sounded strange to make rice pudding with cauliflower. So, but I did it anyway. Glenn,
well, I want to see what you're going to be doing. I just want to remind your audience. I'm going to put up my email address. If you send to me your proof of purchase of either the book or the audio book or the Kindle, I will send to you a PDF of 25 recipes by my wife, Joanna. I will send to you a video of Chef AJ making her carrot cake recipe, and I will send to you that recipe. And then the other thing is, if you go to my website, the book's website, which is, I'll put here, ownyourhealthbook.com, you will see a list of my audiobooks. And I don't currently have a coupon code for the Own Your Health audiobook, but for almost all my other books, Off the Reservation, Food Over Medicine, and let's see, and my two books with Howard Lyman, not my books with AJ, but my two books with Howard Lyman, Mad Cowboy, No More Bull. If you want the free audiobook of those books, just write to me and say you want a free audiobook of Food Over Medicine or Mad Cowboy, and I have a coupon code that I can send you. And then the third final thing is, if you send an email telling me what's your favorite chapter and why, Gustavo and I will choose the best one, and we'll send you a gift.
Okay, great, very good. These are things that I hope everybody will take advantage of. So, Glenn, what I'm going to do is at the very top here, I will turn off my camera and my microphone, and if you could do the same, and that way I can play the video. Well, I don't know if you have, there you go, yes. Hello and good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're watching this from. This is Gustavo Tolosa. I am the Starch Solution Coach and the founder of this page in Facebook. And today I wanted to show you how I'm going to make Chef AJ's cauliflower rice pudding. So let's get started. AJ said that one day she wanted to make this rice pudding, and she went to the freezer where she usually keeps rice, and there was no rice. So she had some riced cauliflower. This is cauliflower that I riced myself, but you can buy it already riced. And there are 4 cups that I'm going to put in the Instant Pot. 4 cups. Then you need 4 cups of diced apples. You can get the Envy apples or whatever apples you like, but I would suggest you get the sweetest apples. That's 4 apples, which is actually 4 medium apples. And I left the skin, but you can peel them. And to that, we're going to add half cup of unsweetened applesauce. This is applesauce that I also made myself, but you can buy it already made. Just make sure it doesn't have any sugar added. We will add 1 cup of unsweetened plant milk. Sometimes I make my own, but this time I didn't. And this is almond milk, but you can use any milk, plant milk that is sugar-free. Then you need 1 cup of golden raisins, and I have mostly golden raisins, but I had a few cranberries, so I just put them there. But that is 1 cup as well. And let's see what else we have here. We need 1 tablespoon of cinnamon or apple pie spice. And guys, I have cinnamon, but I also have pumpkin pie spice. And I also have ground allspice. And I just don't know which one to put. What should I put? Let me know what you think I should put. And we also will put 1 teaspoon of vanilla bean powder. The advantage of this is that it doesn't have alcohol added. And most of the vanilla that is liquid has alcohol. Okay, thank you guys for watching. And I appreciate it. Someone says to put pumpkin pie. I'm leaning towards that, so I think that that's what I'm gonna do. Pumpkin pie spice. Or you can just use plain cinnamon. And so there is the tablespoon. And then we're going to put 1 teaspoon of the vanilla, which, of course, if you don't have the powder, that's okay. Use liquid, it's okay. So this is my powder vanilla here. And that's it. It couldn't be any easier. So what you need to do is put it in the Instant Pot at 5 minutes. And if you hold on now for a second here, I'm going to, well, yeah, I think I need to stir this a little. It doesn't say that, but I think it needs it. So I'm just gonna mix it. And this is a great way. Of course, you know, if you have brown rice or even white rice already cooked, and you have it frozen or you have it already made, you know, use that. But this is a great way to sneak in some healthy vegetable in something that people will love to eat. So I have never tried this one. So this is gonna be new for me. And it's gonna take 5 minutes after it gathers pressure, which is probably gonna be more like 10 minutes. But that's it, guys. So let's see here. Let's put the lid. Let's put it at 5 manual here. Wow, it's already at 5. Okay, so make sure that it's sealed. And now it's time to cook it. So there it's announcing that it's ready to, I mean, it's starting to heat up. So that was the recipe. You could see how most of the time it took to chop the apple, actually. And if you are buying the riced cauliflower already riced, then you don't have to do that. And here it is. Let's see how this tastes. Surprisingly good. Really surprisingly. There really is no trace of cauliflower here. I don't think anybody will be able to tell. I can tell because I made it, but and it's sweet enough, very sweet. So I don't think it needs any more sugar. If for some reason you wanted it sweeter, maybe chop some dates. I see Glenn is here. I'm enjoying this rice, the cauliflower pudding. It's delicious.
The tension was too much for me to take. I was worried you might not like it. And
Yeah. No, I love it. Oh, wow. Well, this
that's one
is
of something like 115 recipes in the book.
right because you have 75 by AJ.
Right.
You have 35 other recipes, right? And I think Shada has some recipes, and then your
Tammy Kramer and my wife Joanna.
Joanna.
And AJ actually did 81, but it didn't seem to look good on the cover. 81 recipes. So he said over 75.
Okay, I have to finish it. All right, there it is. So, no, it's very good. And this can
the
be
stress was too much for me.
too much. Oh no, and no, but it was. I can almost assure that anything that AJ has, any recipes, are very good. So this can be served cold. I made this morning, so it's been a few hours. I put it in the refrigerator and I didn't eat it until now. Or it can be served warm as well. So very good, very, very good, I have to say. So I would like to leave when we're ready to leave, unless you have anything else you want to share,
No.
Glenn. I would like to leave everybody with about 3 minutes of music at the piano here by one of my favorite composers, Johann Sebastian Bach, because it's music for music's sake. That means that it's like science put into music, but with the aesthetics to make it beautiful. So they have done experiments where they connect computers to the music, and the computers just go crazy because they start spitting out all these numbers, and just it's because it's so cerebral, but at the same time, like I said, it's just beautiful music. So, and they have done studies as well that show that Bach as well as Mozart, when you listen to their music, the IQ of a person tends to go up. So at least for 3 minutes, we will all be smarter. Okay, so, well, thank you everyone for joining, and especially thank you, Glenn, for once more being here. Next week, everyone, we will be covering chapters, I believe it's 8 and 9. And then for the last session, the last Saturday of February, we will have our, as a special guest, Chef AJ herself. So thank you again. And I will leave you with some music. Just hold on as I get ready.